recording while I try to find a place to put this flag.
We have
Yeah.
a oh,
Oh,
welcome. Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry. We're a little loosey-goosey with the holidays, but welcome to Informed Dissent. We are calling in from some people from the normal place and Lisa from Kenya in the dark of night, where she may or may not be about to be eaten by a lion.
Under the
So
stars.
should be
I
a
did
very exciting
see,
episode.
I should just see a little African wildcat. It's has a
Lisa's literally on safari right now.
Yeah,
She's literally on safari.
Yeah.
yeah.
She,
if you're
earlier this week, she sent us a picture of a zebra that she killed. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, so today it's been a pretty quiet news week, but today we really wanted to talk about Jamie's story, her origin story. Um, Kind of what are ideas about, we were asked, what do we think gender dysphoria is? So we'd like to talk about that. But maybe we could get started with Lisa just having a lot of thoughts about gender when we all kind of thought she should take a break from gender. And you should share some of those with the class.
Please just riff a little bit on that, Lisa.
well, first I want to say that I think that if you have any money, you should use it to go on a safari.
Okay.
And one way to make that happen is to marry somebody whose father spends 25 years working on a book, can't finish it, brings on a co-writer for the last three, wins a Pulitzer Prize, and then 17 years later, Christopher Nolan makes it into a movie and the book goes on the bestseller list. And you don't make any money from the movie, but you can go on. Apparently, if you have a best-selling book instead of a worst-selling book, which is my specialty, you
Yeah.
can go on story after. So it
You
is
said
true.
17 years, though, right?
17 years after
Yeah.
publication, yeah.
It's a
Oppenheimer.
long
Got hope.
game.
You have hope.
And unfortunately, he passed away just as the movie was being made. Christopher Nolan, I guess, has been knighted after the movie. So I'm always thinking that I could send him an email and ask if he'll buy me an apartment, because my father-in-law's book, that he got
It's
made
reasonable.
into a movie, he got knighted, maybe just to,
Just a little kickback. Or I thought you
yeah.
were going to ask if he could make a film out of Tomboy.
No, I just want an apartment.
Okay. New Yorker.
Um, so yeah,
Do
we've
you
been,
want to name the book? You haven't actually said the title.
well, I mean, I think it was last summer,
Okay,
Christopher
we're fine.
Nolan movie. It's called
We'll see
Oppenheimer.
if
Are we allowed to say
Oppenheimer.
it? Yeah, Oppenheimer.
Um, so
Big film.
it's been very interesting to drive around and look at animals and to learn about all the different ways that they um, organize themselves around sex and gender. So yeah, I didn't stop thinking about sex and gender, and looking at the today we saw a 2 week old elephant, and it was nursing on one woman, and it couldn't quite get its mouth up to her. She was too
Wait,
tall.
what?
Wait,
One
Sorry,
elephant.
not a woman, an elephant woman, a
wait, a
woman
female?
a
Wait, see,
female.
so far you've said sex and
Wait,
gender,
what
and
is
I'm
the
like, wait,
woman?
how are animals, how does gender, wait, gender, and then you said an animal's being nursed by a woman. So I'm
Sorry,
really, there's a lot,
A baby elephant.
wait, what
a
did I
I
say?
think
baby
Yeah.
ChatGPT will
old
generate that
baby,
for me.
baby elephant nursing on a female
A female.
elephant.
A woman elephant.
Yeah, ChatGPT won't generate that.
The pre-malaria delirium happened.
Are you taking those crazy anti-malarial drugs that give you weird
Yeah, but
dreams?
we missed one dose, and then I'm realizing that also didn't take it today. So
Mm.
anyway, no big deal. um, anyway, yeah. So the elephant ladies, the adult elephant females they'll nurse any of the young, which I found interesting. And then the men are kicked out, and the elephant bulls, they only have them around if they for mating time, and then otherwise they're out of here. And then of course with the lions, the women do the hunting. Okay, they're not women. I can't stop. I can't stop calling them women.
Lion, women or women? Women lion.
Well, I really looked like weird and ghostly. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, am I supposed to be under this mosquito net? Anyway,
Please enjoy
Yeah.
our last episode with Lisa Sellen Davis.
did you guys hear that roar? It's been really fascinating to think about all these animals who they're mostly they want to eat, and then they want to not die. They want to eat, not die, procreate, not have their children murdered. And then I started thinking about the clownfish, and why do the clownfish change sex? So they can reproduce,
Mhm.
right? I mean, like everything out here is trying to survive and reproduce. And occasionally
Yeah.
they're having a little bit of fun. And how strange it is that this gender movement, whatever it is that's happening, is in service in a way of the opposite of that. And I think that I think it's really helpful for these young people all mixed up about what is sex and what is gender. We're going to talk about what is gender dysphoria. So a lot of what they've been told that sex is and gender is, and which is the constructed part, and
Mhm.
which is the biological part. And if they spent more time in nature, they might feel a little less mixed up. And I also think that the more these kids are on social media and the more they're living through machines and constructing a reality through like a digital reality, that and getting more and more divorced from their body, that just seems like a big part of the problem. And I think there's a reason that some of these kids, I wonder if you heard this, especially Eliza, because you've been you know
What's that?
parenting. Well, what I was going to say was
Sounds like big feet.
It sounded like it did. It sounded like grunting
it's
and
just
big.
the leopard coming to get me. Well, I just a lot of the kids who were young people with gender dysphoria who were faring very badly seem to do better with horse therapy, with equine
Yeah.
therapy. So, yeah, go on a luxury safari.
Equine therapy. So
Equine
taking children out and giving them pony rides is better than giving them estrogen and testosterone. You know where estrogen comes from.
Horse urine.
Yeah.
Horse urine
Oh,
has. I
right.
did learn that years ago from Bob Ostertag's book that
Me too.
stallion urine has more estrogen than what's a female than the
Stallion?
woman.
Yes. Yeah. The best source wasn't mares, it was stallions.
Wow. Ironic.
But that's how the hormone replacement therapy Premarin got its name. It's I don't remember what the PRE is, but it's the mare urine. Pregnant mare urine. Yes.
Premarin.
Yeah. So you were talking, Lisa, about just we're having this deep discomfort with being animals and reconciling with just our animal nature. And when you go out in the natural world and you see we're doing the same things that all these other species do, but we're dressing it up and getting confused.
Yeah, I think we've really forgotten how to be human animals, and there are so many other things to do besides eat, survive, procreate, and occasionally play, that I wonder how much this is a more a deeper existential problem about being so divorced from whatever our purpose is on earth, which for most people seems to be amass as much money and power as possible.
When it should
But
really just be amass enough money to go on safari.
yeah, that's what that's what counts.
Well, Jamie, I think, had brought up something too about how, we've reached this point where all of our needs are taken care. I mean, there's a theory about that, and I can't think of the name right now, but it's just all of our needs are taken care of, and we have what we need. We're not fighting for our survival every day. We're not fighting, generally speaking, like in the West, we're not fighting for food and for, and so we look for new struggles. We look for new ways to have lacking.
Yeah, I wrote a Substack on it recently, the privilege to create your own oppression. That you've reached such a privileged position that you no longer have that challenge, that human instinct to overcome or to fight or to work for things.
Yeah, the abundance, affluenza, and the conundrum of abundance, etc. So we don't know how to just say like we won. It's one big party. Instead, we are. But that relates to the other thing I was talking about the other week about needing to have your struggle muscle, needing to develop your struggle. And
I like
thinking
that
of
phrase, struggle muscle.
watching all these woman and watching the cubs follow the mother lion, and it seems like that the mothers are always ahead, and the animals are all that the children are all apprenticing, and there's not they don't say like you wait here and I'll do everything for you and be back. They say I'm going to show you how to do it and I'm going to train you. And I had a conversation with my younger daughter about that, about we haven't done that good a job like training. There's lots of things they can do, like ride the subway by themselves, but they don't know how to cook that much. Remember that movie that took place didn't it take place in your state, Jamie?
What movie?
What is your state? The first Jennifer Lawrence movie, it was an indie movie, and she's very poor, and there's a lot of meth.
Winter's Bone.
It's Winter's Bone. It was her prepping for the Hunger Games.
And there's an incredible scene where she has to teach her younger sibling how to skin a squirrel and eat it because no money. And to me, that seems like also not only have the kids forgotten how to be human, but we've sort of forgotten the point of parenting, which is to teach your children to skin a squirrel.
Yeah, my parents didn't teach me.
Look what happened to you.
Yeah, teach your children how to skin squirrels.
Do you feel like the animals that you're seeing, Lisa, is there a health? Do you see, like, is this a active working ecosystem? Or is it sheltered? Are you like on a...
I mean, we're in a national park, and they don't interfere with the animals. The animals are used to they know who's dangerous and who's not, and they don't perceive these land rovers as dangerous. So the other thing I was noticing is that the impala and the dik-diks, my favorite, because of the dik-dik jokes they're these little, they look like a deer and a bunny and an elephant should have had a baby. And any animal that is a pack animal and is easy prey has this very intense startle reflex, right? And they
Yeah.
and they jump very easily, and they run away, they scamper away quickly. But the elephant and the giraffe and the animals that are not in a lot of danger, they just like slowly look up and say like, is it a problem? Oh, it's not. And then they go back to eating. And I have a really intense startle reflex. So I keep thinking like, oh, I'm prey. I'm like, I wonder if people who don't easily perceive danger and are calm are somehow, leadership material
Or descended
because
from the elephant women.
or just from the elephant women, whereas I am a dik-dik. I am descendant of the dik-dik. Okay,
And
I
you
think
and
that's
you've
good.
been sending us dik-dik pics all week, so we're gonna put some of those in the show notes.
I've also been getting pregnant giraffe pictures and nursing zebra pictures, but the zebras are adult zebra women nursing baby zebras.
Yeah. I maybe can't even have
There's some pretty good research lately out of England that says that the male zebras can nurse just as well.
if they give them
Premarin.
No.
well, it's domperidone, but it sounds a lot like Dom Perignon. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say if it's champagne or
Lactation stimulation.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
But also pregnant mare urine. I'm surprised that is not regularly served or isn't like a profiled in goop as a wellness drink.
Yeah.
This might be the cure for long COVID.
Right.
We should
Gwyneth Paltrow
we
needs
should
to get on that.
Urine
should-
might be a bridge too far.
we should do some double blind studies.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say we should do a product line to support the podcast, but
Oh yeah. Yeah.
maybe we could do both.
Yeah. The
Yeah, subscribe
informed.
now and we'll send you some pregnant mare urine.
Yeah. Then people might start calling this podcast informed pissant.
We'll also send you dik-dik pics if you sign up for a paid subscription.
Cori, please promise me you will not make a jingle about horse
Informed.
urine.
Okay.
Really, I want the jingle.
Have you heard Nina Paley's glove jingle?
No.
Okay. We'll have to include that in the show notes because it has been chasing me around for the last week.
Okay.
Yes.
Should we talk about, well, or are we doing Jamie's origin story?
Yeah, let's talk about Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm really scared to do an origin story with you all.
Why?
I've been like really dreading this.
Oh.
And I've been like,
Because she doesn't want to cry on camera.
I don't, and I've been like overthinking it because I feel like how I became a whistleblower's been described like umpteenth times, and I don't feel like I should talk about that again. So then I guess.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go. If you pull things from me.
I think it's interesting. What interests me in some ways, because you and I have talked a lot about my friend's movie, which was, my friend made this documentary in 2015 and Jamie saw it and that inspired her to go into this. And since then, and since you've come out of it, you've also been thinking a lot about your own childhood. And so I'm curious how all that worked in you, how when you saw that documentary, considering who you were married to, considering your own past, how did it make you feel like this was the next big thing? This was going to be your life's work.
And this was the documentary about trans kids, right, Jamie?
Yeah, it was, oh gosh, what was it called? Was it called Trans Kids?
Growing up trans or
So
something?
Growing Up Trans.
growing up
And
trans.
it was on PBS. I think it was a Frontline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I was, that what I consumed was primarily PBS, NPR, like the New York Times. Like those were my channels of consumption. Um, I remember watching that episode, and maybe 15 minutes in, I called my spouse in, and I was like, "You have to see this. This is groundbreaking. This is amazing." And at the time, Tiger, who was going by he, him pronouns, watched maybe 10 minutes of it and said, I don't know about this. This is not sitting right," and left the room. And I was just completely captured.
So Tiger, a trans man, a trans-identified female who now goes by Roxanne, but yeah, she had a reaction to it while you were taken in by it.
Right. And she had transitioned as an adult, and I think kind of had a reaction like, "Oh, I don't know. This was so hard for me to do as an adult. I don't know that this would have been the right thing to do as a kid." And I was like, wow, my childhood with gender was such a struggle, and it was so uncomfortable that this seemed like kind of a panacea, kind of a, well, this might have been the solution. Um, I remember watching that too, just feeling like those doctors, like there was some element to it that the doctors just seemed like they understood, like they got it. And I think there was part of me that also just always felt like such a weirdo that I was like, oh, they get it. Like they get what that feeling is from like childhood on. And so it just felt like it must have been the right thing for those kids.
Felt like care.
It did. That's the right word. It felt like care. And I think the part that I've been struggling with thinking about talking about like my like origin story was, okay, so we talk about how all of these young kids desisted, right? If you just leave the gay kids alone, that they desist. And that so many of those studies, they like desist in adolescence, right? Like, isn't the bulk of those, like those 11 studies?
Well, I just learned something. I
Yeah.
just got corrected by Mike Bailey.
Okay.
So I had been saying they desist during puberty and that puberty seemed to be the quote unquote cure. But he and the other um, head 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 sexologists, I'm appointing them that, that's not their actual title, said that they tended to desist by the end of puberty. So we don't know if they all desisted during puberty. They just knew that by the end of puberty. So they don't know how much was getting used to their bodies versus just time. That's that's how I and that I was and that if we were going to explain it accurately, we would say not they desisted. That they well, I think I had been writing by the end of puberty, but to not credit puberty with causing the desistance.
Because the Dutch will say that for those early onset kids, that puberty gets worse.
The dysphoria gets
So
worse.
my own experience was puberty was like hell. Like childhood gender nonconformity or gender dysphoria, whatever that is, was like, it wasn't until people started correcting me. And I think, Ben, I think you had those, like, I would get like, I reached a certain age and everybody was like, you have to put a shirt on. You can't go outside without a shirt on anymore. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, why do I have to put a shirt on? They're like, you have to put a shirt on. And, like there was something about early pre-puberty where also there were these changing expectations around, I was too aggressive or I was too competitive or I was dirty all the time. Like, I don't know how many times I got stitches and injured myself from like a very early age because it was very rough. And then pre-pubertal was like, clean up, stop doing this, stop behaving like this. And then puberty onset, and it was just like, it was hell. I self-harmed through puberty. I I think I had similar experiences to Ben with substance abuse and misuse. But the thing that I struggle with is that it didn't go away with puberty. And it didn't go away. When do those sexologists define the end of puberty? Or
Yeah,
is it
We'll ask.
because like the thing about, and this is where I don't know if there's a different experience for same-sex attracted women than there is for same-sex attracted men. But I have this feeling that if same-sex attracted men can reach their like mid-20s, like they're not going to transition unless I'm being really clear. Same-sex attract, like the homosexual transsexuals, if they reach like their mid-20s, they're not going to transition. But same-sex attracted women can reach their 20s and they're still transitioning by like the boatloads.
Mm-hmm.
Like lesbians transition in their 20s and their 30s, like in their 40s. And I don't know what, like, I think what I was like so hesitant to talk about is like, I think that the vulnerability of being a same-sex attracted woman, there's some element to it where I almost feel like shame that I would still be vulnerable and capturable by the ideology even in my 30s. Because I went into that gender center. Let me back up. Maybe 3 to 4 years before I started working in the gender center, I was working in a HIV service org. And trans was like picking up in like, it started to like be more popular and more people were trans identifying and non-binary started coming up. And I feel so much regret and shame because I was vulnerable then. Like I was already a mom and I was vulnerable. And there was something enticing about it as like feeling like I never fit in as a straight, like I'm not a straight woman. So I felt like I never fit in and I was super vulnerable to it and I changed my appearance. I was like saying like they, them pronouns or no pronouns. I almost started testosterone once. And I remember thinking when the pronoun ritual started happening in my workplace, where we would start every meeting and we were working with these were not new people. This was not like, oh, a new hire, let's tell them all our pronouns. It was like every single fucking meeting. You would sit down and you would go around the damn circle and you would say your name and your pronouns. And to me, I felt like that ritual was like aimed at me. It was like we see you. We know you always felt weird. We know you always didn't feel like a girl. So we're going to just keep poking this at you over and over and over again so that every time you have to say she, her out loud, it just feels like you don't fit and you don't fit. And I think there's something about that repetition to it that just like, if you have to keep reassessing every fucking work meeting, am I a woman? Is it she, her? Like there's something to it that just starts eating away. Like, well, I never felt like a girl when I was a girl. do I feel like a woman? Am I a woman today? Does it feel good for you to say ma'am? Does it feel good for you to say woman? And then when you just start ruminating and thinking about it over and over and over again, I just feel like it like created this space to just like let it eat at me to the point where I was saying in those meetings, like no pronouns, they, them. I was wearing a binder, I cut my hair again. It just, there's some part of me that I feel like if you take any lesbian and you put them in that environment and you just poke them with it over and over and over again, I think I could like, it's like those early prison studies when you took those students and you said you're the prisoners and you're the prison guards and you put them in that environment and you like gave them, some of them power and some of them vulnerability, and you like created this dynamic, like they created these monsters and they created these prisoners, and I feel like the community did that to itself. Like we created this environment to eat at lesbians and pull apart our most vulnerable spot, and then we all started to transition.
And this is what you were tweeting about yesterday when you said that this kind of rumination is just kind of disastrous for gay people.
Because I just feel like that ritual, that pronoun thing, like really did, every time it came back around the circle, all I felt like was that little kid who felt like it should have been born a boy, and why do I feel weird, and why am I attracted to women, and why do I not fit, and why like and then it would just bring up all of these weird childhood memories. I was an athlete for years, and I was on this really weird, really good team. Soccer, basketball, softball, like I played everything, volleyball. And I remember in like 6th or 7th grade, our teacher told us that we had to stop bringing our trophies in because we won too much and we made the boys feel bad about themselves. And we couldn't bring, like we were winning like city, county, like championships. And the teachers were like, you just can't bring the trophies in anymore.
That happened in my high school, I think.
That the girls got told stop winning?
Yeah, I remember it being a thing where, and I don't know if they were told stop winning or stop, but there was a messaging of like, okay, girls, stop showing off in a way, because the girls were phenomenal athletes and they were crushing it in lacrosse especially, and the boys didn't do as well, and there was a kind of weirdness there in terms of the girls. There was like a responsibility put upon them to maybe be more gracious, or yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so every time that pronoun circle came back around, those were the kind of weird things I would think about. And when I started working in the gender center, there definitely was these elements of, was I working out something from my own childhood, like through these kids? And what was hard to also grapple with was I was not the only one. So when I like think about my relationship with like our primary endocrinologist, gay man, I mean, maybe my height, because so many of the patients would always think that he was trans, petite, gay man, shorter, like, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're a trans man," and he'd be like, "No, I'm a gay man." But so many of us who worked there were like hadn't grappled with our own stuff.
Mhm.
Well, this is something I've wondered about a lot. Also, I mistook a short, effeminate, gay gender doctor for a trans man early on in this. I felt very embarrassed, but um, there are a lot of gay men in the field, and I wonder if some of the older gay men, they maybe came from AIDS medicine, and this, it sort of morphed into this. But with the younger ones, I sometimes wonder if they're um living out some kind of childhood fantasy of escaping their sex, that if they were effeminate and bullied and dreamed of being a girl, and maybe they want to ease these kids suffering, but these tend to be these are adult gay men with who can procreate and have a robust sex life. So it's an odd thing to do to ease suffering. It's very kind of instant gratification. um
I think that's I mean, I agree because it's kind of like how could these folks, and so Lisa, I theorize like maybe the same thing. But for me, just as being a same-sex attracted man, I'm like, my idea of helping younger people is the opposite. So it's so
Mhm.
weird to think that one could think that was a solution. If I'm being generous, I think that that probably has less to do with it than the fact that the way it's being packaged and sold as just a care, a kindness, social justice, and part of the larger project of like liberation of from oppression and the patriarchy and capitalism and all of these things. Jamie, you said you feel like once people get to a certain age, you know, let's say homosexual, transsexual, or homosexual men, mid 20s, they're less likely to transition. But, I'm thinking of one person who I have known for a long time around my age, gay, married man, happy, multiple kids. During COVID, guess what? I'm a woman. Um, and I mean, thousands of followers on Twitter like that, and picture after picture after picture of post surgery, and all of these things. And this person is especially very wrapped up in social justice, um, in all, I mean, all of that, BLM, everything, hardcore. Um, and so people are vulnerable to that, I think, still men, but I think to a lesser degree.
I just, I think there's just some part of any of us that doesn't want to admit that we are vulnerable to a social contagion.
Mhm.
Like, I'm different, I wouldn't fall for that. And then it's like, oh, but I did. And
Well, I think first of all, when you say there's things like shame in that, I don't there's not even a tiny bit of me that judges, like in terms of that I think so when I hear you say like I feel ashamed about that, I'm like, God, that's so interesting because I just don't think you should feel ashamed at all. Um, Two, look, I have always, I mean, when I was in my early 20s, getting sober and also just trying to come to terms with my sexuality, I had all girlfriends. I'd always had all girlfriends. And I would say to them, well, you guys all know I'm a woman, like when we would talk. And I would say that jokingly, but I was serious. Like there was a part of me that was just like, I feel like I respond to life in a way that's typical of women. This isn't how I would put it at the time. I would be like, I feel like a woman, but I would say, I feel like I respond to life and different life events and relationships and whatever in ways that are typical of the females, the women around me. I relate more to women than I do men. I feel safer with women than I do men. I have conversations that I just it was like we were talking the same language. Um, Mostly with women, with straight women, you know. Um, and that so I have joked, I think I joked about it on Corey's podcast, but I'm like, feel like I'm more trans than a lot of trans people that are claiming a trans identity today, in the sense that I've always felt like I've, if we're talking technical terms, like had a more feminized brain. Um, and doing that research, maybe we can talk about this a little bit, but in terms of gender dysphoria, like I feel like the science is really important to look at because I do think that there's a lot of validity to, like Dr. Simon LeVay and the books about, and the studies in terms of, these, that it's theorized and that it's about hormone exposure in the womb.
Yeah, so
And
you're saying like that same-sex attracted people do have the brain difference.
well, there's a brain difference, and it's not like you don't say, "Oh, I have a female brain," or I mean, that's obviously not how one would say it, like, "Oh, the female brain in a male body." But your brain, in terms of hormone exposure in the womb, higher testosterone exposure or lower testosterone exposure. So for males, if there's lower testosterone exposure or lacking of it, and it can be there's a lot of different possibilities of why this might occur. But that male will become, grow up to be, or at least from a very young age, exhibit traits that are more typical of the opposite sex, and then most likely will be same sex attracted. And it's the, kind of opposite or same with females. The higher testosterone exposure, they'll have exhibit traits that are more typical of males, and then be same sex attracted, in adolescence. And so, um, I think that there's a lot of truth to that. So we're talking about like kind of that, to me, I connect that with the typology of HSTS. We're talking about homosexual transsexuals and then autogynephilic transsexuals. And so I do think that there's validity to that. And I think that, I was conditioned in a way to, I wasn't sold trans at the time because it was the 90s. So like I said last time, I did drugs and alcohol and then just did hyperconformity, like
Yeah.
sponged femininity from, constantly self-scanned for femininity, and cut my hair and walk differently and talk differently
But see, don't you feel like even doing that though, like I can code, I don't know, I can present like super femme, but in the workplace, I was always getting in trouble. A meeting could not go by without me asking a question, interjecting. I was always seen as you're bossy, you are know-it-all, you always have an opinion, like always getting in trouble for things that if I was male would have been immediately like seen as leadership qualities or positives or like you always have an answer, like you can always like guide the group, like those things. It was perpetual like workplace frustrations over those qualities that I couldn't cut my hair and make those things like go away, or I couldn't grow my hair out and make that like go away. Like nothing I could do could ever make that go away. And I don't know if that's what like I don't know, but like that's what I felt vulnerable to when trans was presented, because then it's like, well, maybe you're just male, and if you're just transition and you're male, then you'll fit in the way that you automatically just act. And honestly, like it still is there. I posted a picture of myself at the gym having, and I don't know how many people commented that I was T-girl coded. I had to ask you all what that even meant. And Lisa asked if it was a rapper. And Eliza and Cori knew like right away.
which is what does it mean?
What is it?
Cori, I mean, you joked, but
Yeah, I joked. I'd have to look at the picture again to remember the details, but
She was flexing and at the
I was
gym, and
flexing and at the gym, and I have hairy armpits, and I was talking about how I'd like to do one arm push-ups in 2025.
yeah, you go, sister.
But but like for lesbians, it's not just like I post a picture like that, I'm T-girl coded. I post a picture like that also. There was a whole thread that I like found randomly where they were all talking about how I'm autosexual.
hmm
Like you
Oh,
can't even,
really?
I can't even be just like just saying I'm a lesbian. You can't,
Hmm.
it's not even accepted to just be like online. All I get is pushback. You're not a lesbian. You've had sex with a man. You're not a lesbian. You have two biological children. Like you can't even like own like your own sexuality. Like it that still wants to push back into trans.
What is what is autosexual?
Dear God, I don't know.
I
Well,
think they mean auto heterosexual. I think they mean auto androphilic, right?
right, right.
Yeah,
So we're talking when we say
Is
autosexuality, it's kind of the autogynephilic and then autoandrophilic. Love of oneself as a man, love of oneself as a woman. Male transsexuals are
I love
autogynephilic.
myself as an elephant. I'm gonna sign off and let you all finish because I gotta go nurse a 2 week old baby elephant.
Okay.
can you at least, before you sign off, can you
So
just give us,
I gotta go to bed under the stars with my
can you give us what you would say is the working definition of gender dysphoria?
okay. Oh,
Yeah, and
before I
then when you
leave.
leave, we'll explain why you're wrong.
Oh, I love this game. I let me get my husband so he can add some reasons why I'm wrong. Well, the working definition is um, persistent distress um, due to an incongruence between one's gender identity and one's sex assigned at birth. Is that one of the definitions? And it used to be when it was gender identity of disorder of childhood, you know, they, the doctors would stress that would stress the distress, that it
Hmm.
wasn't just I don't like my body or I don't like being a boy or I don't like, and not even I wish I weren't a boy or I wish I weren't a girl. It would be I
Yeah,
am a boy. It would
right.
be the insistent, consistent, and persistent. Um, but often now they'll say it in various definitions. It'll say things like discomfort with one's gender, and that's a tough word. A tough word is a singular, as a singular noun that way, like a thing that you possess. It's not even gender identity. So I guess I give you a non-working definition. I guess we only have
We
non-work,
only,
and I wish I could be here to hear you all pull this apart, but I gotta go to bed under this star Vega, and so does my kid.
okay.
So I will just nurse my 2 week old elephant,
Love you. Be safe.
and if I don't get eaten by a lion, I'll see you guys next week.
Bye, Lisa.
Okay, do your best. Bye.
I'm excited to hear more of her, see more of her reporting in our text message thread,
Hmm.
her pictures and so on, and her thoughts, her candid thoughts about.
Cori, can I ask, were you formally diagnosed with gender dysphoria?
No, that wasn't a thing back in the early 90s.
It was gender identity disorder, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or something like that.
Hmm.
That you met the definition?
Well, what kills me is I got full copies of all of my files back from when I was a kid. And when I had them loaded in my hatchback. When I was driving from Reno to Virginia back in 2009, overnight somewhere, somebody had stolen a few things out of my car, including the box that had all my files in it, and my musical keyboard, which I guess I could replace that a little easier, and as well as some glamour photos that were made up of me when I was 18 years old. So box full of little treasures and all of my psych files gone. And somebody must have like gone through that box and went, "What the fuck is this stuff?"
Yeah, it really sounds like a gender clinician excuse. Oh, it was water damage, got stolen out
It
of
was
the
water
trunk of my
damage.
car.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a hatchback, so it
Had
wasn't,
you
yeah.
had a chance to review them first?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it's now, what is this, 15 years since
Yeah.
I've reviewed them.
Mm.
Maybe the most important, I know I'm wandering now. Maybe the most important takeaway is that, so what's interesting is this is the same psychologist I saw when I was in the second or third grade. And then I saw her again when I was 15 after telling my mom that I wanted to be a girl, and 18 after I reached the age of majority. So same person saw me most of my life. And I was a quirky kid, very emotional. And neither of my parents were really showing me how to skin a squirrel.
Yeah.
So I was learning, I was doing a lot of self-parenting.
Yeah.
And who was I talking to recently? I forget who I was talking to, but there's some sort of concept about like growing a parent persona and embodying a parent persona so that you have a protector. And I was able to, I had a lot of empathy for that idea.
Can I hypothesize? My hypothesis would be that both Ben, myself, and you, based on whatever the definition of gender dysphoria was when we were children, would have met that diagnostic criteria.
Probably.
Do you think so, Ben?
Probably, but so much of I think of what Shapeshifter has said, it's not gender dysphoria, it's social dysphoria. I mean, I didn't necessarily have a problem with the way that I was because I just was who I was. It was when everybody started reflecting back to me, oh, this is like you, Jamie, like, oh, this you cannot be this way. This is how you are naturally is not okay. Your interests are not acceptable. Your presentation is not acceptable the way that it is. I mean, all of these things, this messaging that you get from so early. When that started, that yeah, probably triggered a gender dysphoria. Absolutely. But it was a social dysphoria.
All right. Can I share from a Twitter thread earlier this year?
Yes.
All right. This isn't exactly gender dysphoria, but it's an attempt to define gender identity. And I think that we can talk about gender dysphoria in this context.
Okay.
So this is my best attempt. Gender identity is a phenomenon arising from an individual's personal experience of feeling estranged from members of their own biological category, which can lead to psychological distress, there's the gender dysphoria, and may involve the belief that changing their biological category could provide relief.
Okay. I want you to read it one more time. So the phenomenon of one more time. Give it to me.
Yeah. All right. Gender identity is a phenomenon arising from an individual's personal experience of feeling estranged from members of their own biological category, which can lead to psychological distress and may involve the belief that changing their biological category could provide relief. I would simplify it a little bit. If I could go back and edit this, because it's a little bit redundant, but it's just this idea of, like, the key idea is estrangement, distress from that estrangement, and a belief that to resolve that distress, you should change your category.
Yeah, I remember when you tweeted that. I thought that was really well said.
Thank you. And I think it's an easier definition to work with than the idea that, this magical crap of, oh, I believe I'm a different sex.
Mhm.
That's not a very workable definition.
Yeah, but that captures the estrangement and the desire to change as a solution.
Can I just add? I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here.
You should. That makes good content.
So, how is that different from growing up same-sex attracted? I did feel estrangement from other girls because I was attracted to
Mhm.
them. And I felt distress over that attraction. And I thought that if I would be a boy, then it would all make sense and fit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not devil's advocate. That's confirmation.
Confirmation that it's all
Maybe how it particularly nets same-sex attracted people. Because there is enough of that alienation that, depending on what ideas are in the air, bad things can be done with it.
I never had that. I never had that. Like when I was young, I don't remember connecting with that thought of, oh, if, because I like boys, if I was just a girl, I would be normal. But because it was literally not an option. Like I just didn't, it wasn't on the table at all. I had no idea that that was a possibility that I could identify that way. All I knew was that I was the wrong kind of, I wasn't the right kind of boy, and that I needed to change everything about myself in order to fit in properly.
Did you not have much physical distress then over your physical body?
That's a good point. That's a good question. I did not. I don't think I did. I mean, like, I don't know. I had normal. I mean, did I like no. I mean, but I didn't have,
Intense like feelings like,
mm-mm.
why don't I have a penis? Well,
Right,
you had
right,
one.
right. If I didn't have one, that might be like, oh, wait,
What is
where
this
is it?
doing here? No. Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I did not have, I did not, no.
Okay. And then intense feelings like, why do I now have breasts?
Right. But I think that like when I watch these documentaries with these
Oh, again,
kids,
Ben, you don't have breasts, but
right.
Corey, sorry,
Why
you
don't
never have.
why? But when I look at these with these young kids that are like I in my opinion, and I think maybe a lot of you might share it, and you've probably noticed the same thing, when these kids are so young, 3, 4, and these parents are saying, "Oh," and they just he wouldn't want to put on pants, and he wanted to wear dresses, and he wanted to be like this, and he wanted long hair and this and that. They're it's like that's the proof that they're a trans, that they're trans, that they're actually a girl.
Mhm.
And then they reinforce this. They say, "Yes, you're right. Oh my gosh, thank you for revealing yourself to us. You are in fact a girl." So this boy, you are in fact a girl. And it's possible
Mhm.
to be a girl. And so what girl means now is you get to wear your hair long. You get to, as long as you change your name, which they want to do anyway, because they're like, oh, okay, sure, I want to be, whatever. Um, and Bella. And so, okay, now Bella, you can wear dresses and you can wear your hair long, and now you can play with dolls. And now you can continue to, hang out with the girls in school and do those things or whatever. And so that's what being a girl is at the beginning. And then as they get a little bit older, then they're like, okay, now obviously, so now these kids are like, all of the trusted adults in my life have told me that I am a girl. They've affirmed this, and they've told me that being a girl is possible. Now my body's starting to change in a different way. I'm starting to become different than my girl peers. Why? It's distressing. Oh my gosh. you know, of course, dysphoria, of course, distress is going to come about when all the adults in your life have been telling you that you are in fact a girl, and then your body starts to betray that, and reality starts to kick in, and you start to see, oh. And so, but then the parents and all the trusted everybody is like, oh, but this is what we did, we just stop it, and they're like, oh my God, thank God, okay, yeah, okay, you're right,
And that
okay,
this is
so
the proof, that the distress
the
is the
proof.
proof that
The
it was the real
distress is the
identity.
proof. Is this is the real identity. Distress is the proof. And then okay, so we just stop my puberty. Oh, thank God. Okay. So now, oh, okay. So yes. And then, oh, so I am a girl. This is all I have to do. Oh, okay. I just have to go to the doctor and get this thing implanted in my arm. Okay, sure. Yes, this hurts. I don't like it, but that's what I can do. I want to wear dresses. I want to play with dolls. I want to have long hair. I want to be with other girls. And then that's where it goes to. To me, that's just like 101. And so but anyway, what are your thoughts about that? Anybody?
It's just such a predictable, it's like the psychological intervention of loading a child's preferences for toys and playmates and clothing and hairstyles, and then telling them that they're wrong, and then they hit, like, it's the most predictable progression as an intervention to create extreme distress.
100%. 100%. So I just wonder, like, go ahead, JB.
I just still feel like even without it being preloaded, I still think because there's some element of this like homophobia that just still exists, that like the through line, that distress can still be there for gay people, but that the solution is just what's not, like what's presented as the solution is just what I just find so wrong, is that it's like I just don't feel like I really don't feel like anybody preloaded the distress of my body. I get the social aspect where it was like, put a shirt on, you can't do this, like you can't do that. But I still feel like there was some element that was just there. And I don't know how to tease that apart too, because I grew up in a Catholic household.
Hmm.
I don't know how much I was like fed. I don't know how much I like internalized about homosexuality being wrong. I
Yeah.
remember distinctly in high school, in our religion textbook, there was a passage that said gay people should be discriminated against in the workplace if the job entailed working with children.
Hmm.
And I remember feeling like, damn, like nobody thinks we're good people. Um, but I just worry so much about how that
Mm.
distress and homosexuality just lines up so perfectly with this diagnostic criteria that I just feel like it was made.
Yeah.
Somebody says to me over and over again, this was made for us. This was created for us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And okay, am I remembering this right? I wish Lisa were still here. That homosexuality was removed from the DSM in 1980, and that's when gender identity disorder was added.
I think it was 73 when
I
it
feel like
was
there
in,
was a gap.
There was a
yeah, there was
gap.
a gap.
Okay,
It was
I'm not remembering
73,
it
I
right.
believe, when it was removed.
But then I do feel like it was just put back in just a different form.
Guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it also really lines up for the distress that a lot of girls in particular feel at puberty now, the manifestation now with ROGD, where it's like, of course you hate your period. Of course you hate your breasts. Like it's just like this thing that almost every girl is going to go through, and now it means you're a boy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Or
yeah, it is. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you wrote that definition, when you tweeted that out, um, what was the response? Yeah, like do you feel like this
Oh God,
definition
it
still
was so
holds?
it was so long ago. I don't remember.
Does your definition still hold?
Eliza liked it.
I liked.
Yeah.
You have a lot
No,
of
it's
crazy followers.
what?
You have a lot of crazy followers.
Where's that come from?
You mean like a lot of like followers that want to battle Corey over?
Yes.
Okay. Hmm. Have strong opinions
Oh.
about what he has to say.
No, there wasn't a lot. So somebody said, I experienced that as a gay man basically throughout all my life. Didn't make me want to be a girl, even though I had more girlfriends than guy friends. I think the only people who you can say have a gender identity are dysphoric people.
Oh,
Mhm.
I don't know. This didn't really go viral.
Well, the original definition of gender identity was literally just the knowledge of one's sex. Like that was initially it was before gender identity, became, oh, one's gender identity is, you can be, do you identify as a woman or as a man or as non-binary or this or that. And how we understand it today, gender identity was just a name that maybe Stoller, I think, is one of the names.
Mhm.
Robert Stoller, for some reason, is one. The gender identity is just when is something that someone develops a gender identity, a young person, when they kind of realize, oh, I am a boy, oh, I am a girl. Like the social conditioning. You start to, your body starts to change, this confluence of social conditioning and then and physiology, biology, all of these things working together. Oh, I am a boy. Oh, I am a girl. And so when they say there's this incongruence or gender identity disorder, it's when one says, "Oh, I am a girl, but they're actually in a male body. Oh, I'm a boy. I'm actually in a female body." So it wasn't a loaded term to begin with.
Mhm.
But I think that's important for people to know. I think it's important for people to know too that when we're talking about all of this, we're talking about, we're not talking about autosexuality. We're talking about HSTS. We're talking about homosexuality, or we're talking about, gender nonconformity. Because there's a lot of, trans is a big umbrella. It's a vast. It's not even an umbrella. It's like a tarp, a tent, a canopy,
Black hole.
or a circus tent. So you know, maybe we don't really need to get into that, but Corey also had another interesting tweet that I was asking him about recently because we had a discussion about this in a recent Substack that I wrote.
Yeah, about trans-identified men who support transitioning children. That one.
Yes,
Yeah, that was a very interesting tweet.
it was.
Yeah, and we'll put that behind our paywall.
No.
Do we have a paywall?
we do not have a paywall.
No, we don't
Dang
have a
it.
paywall.
All right, I guess we can talk
We've
about
had
it
some
then.
really generous, absolutely generous donors. So we're just to let our listeners know we're figuring out things to do for paid, contributors because we definitely want to pay that back. So
Oh.
And right now we just have dik-dik pics, but
right.
Yeah. Why don't we do like a
Right now we
solicit questions? Do like a live thing for people who donate,
That would be a good idea if they wanted to do that.
and then we
Okay,
could
but-
publish it afterwards for other people. They just don't get the live part.
okay, but your tweet before
Yeah.
we run out of time. And because we
Oh
don't
my
have a paywall.
gosh, I didn't know that there's a timer. Okay, let's go.
Well- Are you done at 1:30?
I'm off today. It's holiday for me.
Okay.
So yeah, so normally this is like my lunch hour that we record. So I have a little bit more time.
Okay.
The idea here, so I don't remember the exact tweet, but the idea here is that when we look at people like our friend Admiral Rachel Levine, who transitioned as an adult, married to a woman, has his own children, and then now he wants to sterilize children so that the boys look more feminine after they transition. So I when I was young, I encountered men, trans-identified men, trans women, who were just basically the carbon copies of Dick Levine, who would always tell me about how jealous they were and how lucky I was, and yada, yada, yada. And I got to the point where I would start turning the tables on these guys a little bit, because from my point of view, they had wealth, they had families, they had social positions that, of course, were damaged a bit by transitioning, but which they usually didn't lose. They had all sorts of advantages, which, since I had transitioned right at 18, my entire adult life was uphill because of that. And I would ask them, you have all of this stuff. Would you trade it to be in my position? And it freaked me out, because every single one of them that I ever asked that question would say, yes, I would trade everything to be in your position.
But of
And
course they
that's
didn't
just
have
bonkers. No, they didn't have to, but that's what they wanted. And the other thing that was very confusing to me is that I never wanted to be a trans woman or a trans girl. I just wanted to be a normal girl or normal young woman. I had no trans, like, that wasn't my fantasy to be trans. And it didn't, like, I couldn't understand their jealousy of me when what I thought would be more understandable or more comprehensible would be for them to be jealous of women, which they also are, actually. But I didn't understand their jealousy of me. And it is my belief that they are projecting, that they have an idealized sexual self, and that is of a male who is feminized from an early age, that is their ideal sexual self. And that the reason that they support transitioning young people is because although they cannot become their ideal sexualized self themselves, they can build other boys into iconic expressions, right? They're realizing their own unattainable sexual ideal goals by helping other boys, like, become what they wanted to be.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that this trajectory is exactly what they had in mind. And I heard somebody yesterday,
Who had in mind?
the adult trans women, they wanted to create this army, this group of the young, feminized, young, they wanted to do that. This was the goal. Do you think that the ROGD girls was not on their radar and blew the whole thing out, and
the ones
that was the mistake, and that they were like, oh shit, all these ROGD girls happened, and
they're not oh shit, Jamie.
Okay.
They're not oh shit. It's just a side effect. And the crazy thing, this is so crazy. These trans women, I wish that I could. Is there like a video effect that will put quotes around my head every time I say trans women?
I know. I said that last week too. Every time I'm saying this, I'm doing it.
Yeah. I need the little digital versions. These trans
make
women.
A noise, ding, like a,
or just
like
bleep it out.
Yeah.
Perfect. Maybe I'll make a little sign. They don't care about the girls, and when they say, well, how many? This is so insane, but I guess I'm just going to explain. They will say, well, how do you think It is for boys that have to go through puberty, and then their bodies are destroyed by testosterone. So it's not a big deal for these girls to have their bodies destroyed by testosterone because that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you think, first of all, do you think that I don't think they had any foresight to see this epidemic of the ROGD girls happening.
That they had any foresight.
When they unleashed it, they were like,
yeah, they're not unleashed. So you're using two different theys there, Jamie. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to be difficult about this.
Okay.
The trans women who say these things are not the ones who are unleashing these therapeutic pathways, these medical pathways. Those are two different groups.
okay.
So when
But they're fighting tooth and
turbans of
nail
the
to
world,
keep it alive.
well, I wouldn't say that the trans women collectively are fighting tooth and nail to keep it alive. I would say that there's a very broad coalition of activists that are trying to preserve this type of medical therapy. Again, I need the quotes to appear when I say that. It's not just it's not only the trans women. This isn't some, the two sides aren't trans women versus everybody else. You've got the APA, the AAP,
Sure.
All of the medical
me-
part. Then you've got the civil rights organization.
Let me spin it a different way.
Please do.
Okay, let me re-ask.
Please do. See, this is how you do devil's advocate.
Okay. Would the Tavistock
Right.
still be open if it were not for the epidemic of ROGD girls?
Would it? Oh, yeah, it would totally be open.
Okay. It was because of this epidemic of the ROGD girls that the light was shown on it, and all of a sudden it was, oh no, we might be transitioning a whole bunch of straight girls.
Yeah, there's some element of that.
Or we're transitioning a whole bunch of lesbians.
But you also read Hannah Barnes's book, Time to Think. So I presume you have. And just nod if you haven't.
I have.
Oh, yeah.
I've read both versions. I have the hardback and the paperback. Because I'm in the paperback. I'm in the addendum in the paperback. Anyway.
Oh, are you? Okay, congratulations. Yeah. The reason that the JID's closed is not just because of girls, but it's that explosion of the young people starting in around 2012, 2013 or so. The majority of whom were girls.
So it's the social contagion explosion is why it closed.
Right. Because they could not handle the volume of cases and things just started getting crazier and crazier.
Can I say one thing too? Going back just slightly, Cori, you had talked about, the adult trans-identified males wanting to be, the feminized young boys. But could it be more that they wanted to be little girls?
No, they don't want that.
No. Why do you say that?
Because that's not their idealized sexual self.
I think it is. I thought it would be. I mean, you want to be female so badly.
They don't want to.
It's the transformation.
Oh. Okay.
Is there an element of like subjugation to that and power?
That probably, but it's I don't have the framework to unpack it in that direction.
Okay. Well, so when Andrea Chu says sissy porn made me trans, that is more about subjugation and the power though, right?
But it's about being feminized. It's not about being a girl.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
Hmm.
Ben is really mulling this over.
No, it's interesting. I am, yeah.
What's that singer who transitioned at 16 in Germany?
Hunter Schafer?
No,
Or-
but that'll do just as well.
No,
Um,
but they'll do.
well, I just needed an example, a well-known example. The adult men want to be Hunter Schafer and not Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I get it. Hmm.
Oh,
They want to be a
It,
passing,
yeah.
relatively passing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, that's that's the target of their idealized sexual self.
Mm.
They want to be hot tranny, not hot woman.
Mm.
I just love the expressions. Everyone's just like, what?
Well, okay, I'll admit what I was thinking of for a moment is do I have what you said that the phrase the sexualized self, the
Ideal sexual identity?
Idealized sexual
realized
self.
sexual self? I don't I don't know that I've ever dwelled on my idealized sexual self.
Yeah.
I mean, is that explain how that is a thing?
Because I don't think we or you or me or anyone who doesn't really know that because they're not autosexual, so they're not
If I don't know. All right, have you ever felt like if I lost weight, maybe I'd be more attractive?
Yeah.
If I lifted weights
Yeah,
and got
absolutely.
cut, I'd be more attractive.
Yep.
So that is towards becoming a more sexualized ideal of
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If only I had like cut abs, then I would be more sexually attractive.
Mm-hmm.
I would be able to make steps towards my sexual ideal self.
Mm-hmm. And so the AGP men are their sexual idealized self is the feminized boy because the
Yes.
feminized boy becomes the sexy tranny.
Right. Since there's some processing happening,
There is
I'll
some
just throw out something interesting that I learned a couple of weeks ago. I haven't come back to it yet, but I need to. Who here follows the culture of weightlifting? All of us? Oh, none of us.
The
Um,
culture of weightlifting?
Yeah,
weightlifting, yeah, there's a
probably
whole
peripherally.
subculture.
I mean,
Okay.
okay. There's subcultures of squirrel skinning also.
Go ahead, but where are you going
Well,
with this,
my
Lori?
parents didn't teach me that
I know.
though.
So you're not allowed into that club.
Yeah, there's videos. So I got pulled into a YouTube rabbit hole, squirrel cave, um, about these young men right on the precipice of adulthood who start taking steroids so that they can get gains with their muscle building faster.
Okay.
And they actually, if you listen to them talk about what their drivers are, it is just it's using the gender dysphoria template.
Okay.
And so this can be like deadly, the things that they take. So your body is not supposed to have what's it called? I forget the term. Like, you shouldn't have more testosterone than your body produces. You shouldn't have more steroids than your body produces, because it will mess up your body. However, if you do that and you work out, you'll get ripped. And they get like obsessed with getting more and more ripped. And the body image issue that I hear these young men talk about, I'm like, this is relatable.
It's relatable, but doesn't it circle back to doctors aren't telling them that that's
Oh, they don't
true
get it from doctors.
and good, and that society
Yeah.
isn't saying you need a flag for that, and this is your authentic, true
Oh, there
soul.
is some of that. There is some of that.
Your true self is totally ripped. Like,
Yeah, it's your ripped self is your authentic self.
Okay, sorry, I just need to circle back for a minute.
Yeah.
If we take away the child transition,
hmm
if we take away that idealized the idealized sexual self of the male who wants to be feminized at an early age, if we've completely removed that as a possibility off the table, can we socially pressure that desire decreases?
Do you mind if I reframe your question to make sure I understand it?
Sure, go ahead.
If we make it impossible for children, particularly boys, to have access to sex-changing medication, then would that also reduce the levels of adult men wanting to transition? Is that the question?
Yes, because I think if you look at the rates, wasn't it? I think part of the social contagion element thing is once you make something a possible reality, you release it. It's Pandora's, you let it
Right.
out of the box. So for some of those adult men, I think that the numbers or the drive is strong.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, here's my belief. It is that if you prohibit males from being in women's space, irrespective of their gender identity, that will decrease the demand for transition.
Yeah, you're removing a huge incentive. You're saying we're not going to treat you any differently, no matter what you do.
Yes.
But I think that Jamie is onto something too, where it's like the idea of transitioning children and that kind of sanitized image of child transition and the more effective transformation that occurs when you start early, it has to contribute to the kind of the allure of transition even for adults. Because it suggests that this thing it's possible, and it increases the victim identity because it's like, you just missed the boat. You were just born in the wrong time. And if you'd been born earlier, you could have gotten this incredible transformation that's available now. And society owes it to you, having withheld this understanding and technology from you in the past, to make it up to you now. I think that I just see those things all the time in the MTF communities in particular. They talk about transitioning as a kid so much more. The desire to have transitioned as a kid so much more than the female communities.
Mhm.
Just a total obsession. The girls talk about wishing they had known what was wrong when puberty hit, and if only they had understood that they were really boys back then. But it's different.
Well, I'm toast, but
Okay. And that is my
You need
idealized
to go
sexual
nurse-
identity.
You need to go nurse your elephant, Ben.
That's
Yes. Although I don't want to cut anyone off if anybody had some
Mm,
thoughts
No,
about
but I
that.
think we need to come back to this because we like
Oh,
halfway
yes.
opened a
Me too.
can of worms.
I do too. I think
Well-
we definitely do. I wouldn't have anything more to
Okay, and I
contribute.
think the plan for next week was the French
Hmm.
released. I'm gonna say it's the French v Cass. Maybe I'll title it the French versus Cass.
Hmm.
And then also, I think we saw DeVries.
Mhm.
Yeah, Annalou DeVries.
Annalou DeVries changed the goalpost.
Yep.
Okay.
Who could have seen that coming?
Right? Who could have seen it? Any non-gender stuff that we want to mention?
Oh, yeah.
What
Do
is
it.
it?
Oh, The Lord of the Rings, the newest series has been really good. I have one more episode in the second, and I'm gonna watch it today.
Great.
Cori, did you have your party?
Nope, that's next week.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. I was just
Have
thinking
you
about
been
that.
watching the newest series? No.
No, there's only the 3 movies and there's no other translations.
That's all there was. 3 movies done.
3 movies.
It's all that exists.
Okay, fine. Okay. So next week we'll do French VCAS and then DeVries changes the goalpost. And Ben and Eliza, what are your non-gender things this week?
What do you think, Eliza? What's going on?
We were watching old home videos last night for the first time in probably like 15, 20 years. And a couple of things. I was always really fidgety. Some people have commented not here about me moving around all the time during Zoom calls. And I have some proof that it goes all the way back. And it's just really, really fun.
Love that. Oh gosh. I don't know. I don't know what mine is.
Do you have more
Christmas.
recipes?
Do I have more recipes? No, I don't. I don't think.
Do you exclusively make pot roast?
Yeah, I make a chili. I make chili as well. Chili in the
Okay.
crock pot. There's a really good chili recipe. Um, and so maybe I'll put that on there. But yeah, shout out
Okay.
to good crock pot recipes. If anybody wants to share some,
Yeah.
be great.
I made
Do you
pulled
use an
pork
instant?
crock pot.
What? Do I use an instant? Okay.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I said that I made pulled pork in the crock pot last night. And Cori asked, do you use an instant?
Pot.
You mean like a crock pot, like a slow cooker? Isn't that what an instant pot is? What are you talking about, instant pot?
So you don't use an instant pot.
No,
I
That's the
don't.
instant
answer.
pots are like way different timing. They like,
It's a pressure cooker,
yeah,
Oh,
it goes real
pressure
fast.
cooker. No, no pressure cooker for me.
but it's
That
a
doesn't
cool
scare
pressure
me.
cooker.
Is that the really scary one that like blows up?
That's what I
Or-
would be afraid of.
Okay.
Like if this is such a popular piece of kitchen equipment that if instant pots were blowing up, we would hear about it on the news. Like,
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So they're just
Okay,
kind of
so-
nerve-wracking but very safe.
All right, everybody
Not
do your
nerve-wracking.
homework. Do your homework. Read the DeVries
okay.
paper and the French also.
Yeah.
Thank
Then I can-
everyone
then-
for listening.
Then I
Yeah.
can complain about Braver Angels.
Okay.
Okay, yes. Well, I will add that to the list. Braver Angels complaint by Cori.
Yeah, but not Bravest Angels.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Till
Thank
next
you
week.
guys.
Okay. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.